Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna. Anyone is hungry? Hungry? Not really. This is not dinner time. Is it dinner time or it's not dinner time? It is dinner time. So are you hungry? You are. So I should keep my lecture short. Isn't it?
We are used to eating at home.
Oh, someone has trained you here to stay awake till 11 p.m. All right. Let me tell you a story. This is a story of a saint. Oops. Yeah, good. This is good. That is lunch. So this is about a saint who had accepted as his daily practice to go out and beg for alms. And generally people would give some food. So whatever he would receive, once he had sufficient, then he would no longer go begging alms. That was his routine. Do you know what this practice is called as? This kind of practice? It is called as madhukari. So he would practice madhukari. What is it called as? Madhukari. What is madhukari? Madhukari is where a saintly personality goes begging door to door. There would be one house that would always reject him. Always. In that house, the lady of the house was not very favorable towards him or towards any saintly personality. However, the practice of madhukari is such that you do not get to choose. You cannot choose that, oh, these are very favorable people, so I'll be going and visiting them. And these are unfavorable people, so I do not visit them. That is not what madhukari is. Madhukari is that you travel, you just go down the street and see what you can receive. Sometimes you get some offerings, and at other times you could also receive unkind words. That's part of the deal. So this lady would always use harsh words, criticize him. Still he would visit her house. So people advised him that he should not do that. He heard them out. However, if her house would be on the way, then he would visit her house. So one day, when he visited her house, she was busy in the kitchen. So in India, generally people in their homes stay barefoot. It's a tradition. isn't it? Should I say it was a tradition? Maybe it's slowly becoming a was. Typically, from the times when this story is coming from, people would be barefoot in their homes. So whenever if you have to enter the kitchen, the psyche is that you should be clean. So there is always a rug at the kitchen entrance, like a mat, a doormat. So a rug would always be there, and you wipe your feet on that rug. And typically, the rug is a jute bag. You know, jute bags, sacks, jute sacks, sacks made of jute. So after the sack is empty, you use it as a rug. One of the ways that you can use it, if you don't kind of trade it back, give it back to the trader, so you can use it in the house like this. So the kitchen rug has seen many people or has seen the feet of many people. It has, although it is stationary, it has traveled various places because it has got the dust of people's feet who have come from so many different places. And the kitchen also is to be kept clean. So there's a lot of use of water. So the rug, a lot of times the rug is also damp. So it's damp. It has a lot of dust particles. Plus the rug has seen better days. So it is threadbare. Get the picture? So when he came along, she took up that rug and threw at him. Every day you come begging. Don't understand? Here, this is my offering to you. So he picked up that rug. Said, thank you. He went back to a pond. He cleaned and washed that rug with the waters of the pond. Maybe it's a flowing stream. If it was completely dust-free, or at least it felt as if it was clean, since it was already threadbare, so he carefully took out some of the threads, rolled them up, soaked them in oil, and offered it to the Lord. Lo and behold, as the story goes, in the coming days, the lady's behavior towards saintly personalities changed. Now, sometimes these stories, they are very fascinating because we always find people transforming in the stories. In real life, maybe we don't have rugs anymore, so the transformation is a little slower. Sometimes the audience takes stories literally. So I'm a little concerned that the next time I visit, they will have a rug properly soiled. The first mistake that they will be making is that I'm a saint. And the second mistake that the audience could be making is that they take the story literally. But this is not just a story. This has been narrated as a historical event. Some of the ladies' demeanor changed after that. So this is a matter of perspectives. Yes. We see flowers, they look beautiful. like lotus flowers. Attractive. Maybe sometimes you may even think the first emotion could be that it's very beautiful. The second emotion could be that maybe I could take this and offer it to the Supreme Lord. Isn't it? Like in the Gajendra Moksha story, first he was engaged in a lot of struggle. The elephant Gajendra was struggling against the crocodile. Finally, he noticed that there are lotus flowers around at one point of time. So he picked up a lotus flower and offered it to the Lord with prayers. Yes. So we may kind of, on second thoughts, we may find it as a good offering for the Lord, if not for a house. A devotee who is, I won't say a devotee, but there could be another person who could immediately remember this Supreme Goddess of Fortune. Because a lotus is her home. A lotus is her blessing too. So what is the difference between these three perspectives? The first perspective is that we are affected by ordinary emotions. Oh, this is beautiful. Somehow our eyes find it to be beautiful. If you are colorblind, most probably we may not find it beautiful. The first perspective is our emotions. Where do the emotions come from? Typically, it comes from the idea that most of the things in the world is for me to enjoy. Or I can be comfortable with such kind of, or I could be happy with such kind of enjoyment. And the second perspective is that I can offer it to their lordships. So what is the basis of that? The basis of that is philosophy. The basis of that is knowledge. Practice based on knowledge. The third perspective is this is the residence of the Supreme Goddess of Fortune, or this is she herself, Shri Padma. Or we could also think of the Supreme Lord holding a lotus in his hands. So in the third perspective, we understand spiritual emotions, we understand spiritual personalities. The difference between the second emotion and third emotion is the second emotion is more about who I am in relationship to the Lord. The third emotion, the third perspective, the emotion is about the Lord is all in all. Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam chamai pashyati. One who is able to see me in all places and see everything in me. Such a person is never lost to me, nor am I ever lost to him. So we have to be, either we have to be very much engrossed in spiritual practices, like completely engrossed in spiritual practices, or we have to be very, very aware of all that is happening in our life. So the first scene is where one is spontaneously engaged because complete engrossment. So that there's some spontaneity. You know what is spontaneity? Like when you see an ice cream and immediately feel I should taste it, have it. That's spontaneity. You do not analyze. You are not trying to have second thoughts about it. It's only after you have it, then you realize that, oh, I haven't taken my anti-diabetic medicine. First impulse, that is called as spontaneity. Why? Because you're completely consumed by that. The second is awareness. You realize that you need to be thoughtful. Why is that? If you're not thoughtful, spontaneity is right now not available in terms of being spontaneous and seeing the Lord in everything that is around us. That spontaneity may not be there. Only after some severe incident in our life, we may think like, oh, maybe it is my karma. That is an afterthought. So awareness is very important. Why is that? If we are not aware, if we don't make good choices, there's greater possibility that the choices that we make may not be really helpful for us. Why is that the greater possibility? That is the effect of time. Time brings an opportunity, but opportunity is only for that moment. As soon as time brings in an opportunity, time also brings in the time frame. The clock is ticking. So as soon as the opportunity is available to us, it has started decaying. That is influence of time. This material world is very fast moving, very fast. There are so many ways people's thoughts are clashing with each other, and all of those vibrations can affect so many species of life. Like us driving down the road, we hardly understand that the exhaust is affecting the species by the side of the road. It does. So every activity of ours, every thought of ours, and understand the permutation and combination of it. The volume that you're speaking of, it is immense, it is huge. Constant turmoil. Therefore, it is important that we always use every moment that we have to make good choices in life. If we don't, then by the effect of time, the choices that we make would be not very healthy, because we have not made those choices. We just let those choices enter into our lives. So this is life. There are good stories that we hear which are inspiring. And then we have to be meditative, or we have to be introspective. Stories are like good signboards. They give you the direction. The journey has to be commenced, and the journey has to be completed by each one of us. So if there are no signboards, the journey still has to go on. You cannot be like, hey, I did not get any more stories, so I don't feel inspired. Yeah. So this saintly personality used that opportunity. And this is the influence of being always very active. Or this is the way how what we speak of as the idea of karma yoga, basically being very active in life. One cannot be passive. Because when we are active in life, and if it is very well thought out activity, there will be a circle of influence. It's just plain physics. There will be some influence because you create a field of energy, that energy dissipates, that energy expands, not dissipates, but expands. And it is going to interact with some other energetic field, some other person's aura, some other person's consciousness. Therefore, when you are in a very, very favorable environment, this body, this existence that we call as the body, is being hit by so many charged particles. And those charged particles are hitting, and the body kind of comes in sync with that. Then we also start clapping, and we also start singing like Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. We start doing that and dancing. Why is that? And similarly, if you go into an environment where people are feeling very fearful and scared, then you also, sorry? Okay. Let me see.
I'll turn it on first.
How did we miss out on that? Nothing, your Gmail, right?
We have our normal usual group online thing. Just check right now.
I'll send you a link. I sent you a link on the mail. On your mail. Okay. Did you get the link?
We have the devotees are logged into our normal group
Sure.
that we use every day.
Okay. Sorry. So, setup. If you want, you can also send that link. No, the Zoom link that I sent you.
It's already.
If you don't want to, you'll have to set up another. Perfect. Okay. So where were we? Energy, dancing, kirtan. On the other hand, if we are amongst people where there's a lot of fear, unless until you yourself are coming from Mars, like you have a different approach to life at that moment, you will be affected by that energy. It's plain science. Now, if I have a boil somewhere in my body and it's painful, let's say there's a boil on my hand and it's painful. So every time my boil hits something, I get pain. Correct? What is the pain? It is certain neurotransmitters. There is a network in the body that understands that within the body there is space which is not very healthy for the body. So you feel it as pain. The way the constitution or the way the let us say flux happens within the body, it is going to create emotions. So if we are in an environment that is surcharged with a certain kind of emotion, then the cells in the body also vibrate accordingly. Unless until, as I said, we are completely cut off from that. Unless until we are like, we have an armor, an emotional armor, like I'm not going to be affected. Saintly personalities can be, somebody who's in complete meditation, dhyan, lost in themselves. They may not be affected by it. Like Lord Shiva may not be affected by it because if he's in deep meditation. So he has that armor, a kavach, because of his practices. Or somebody else who may be very, who may consciously not want to care. So that person also has an armor. Most of us will be affected by it. Hence, there's a lot of emphasis on we should take physical association. We should take physical association. In previous couple of years, there was a lot of virtual association. But this wasn't reflecting that energy, no. The only way that could reflect energy was the photons, the eyes. If the eyes felt inspired, then emotions were there. The rest of the senses were not being affected because they were far away. They were in a different energetic energy field of energy. So for us, we have to realize that we have to make choices wherein our kshetra, the field of activity, creates favorable vibrations for us. But typically, in the Vedic culture, you can also call it as the Bharatiya culture or Indian culture, people would take out time. Most of you, how many of you are from South India, south of the Vindhyas? You know the Vindhya? There's the Vindhya Parvat in India that segregates a certain part of India from the rest of India. You know that? How many people are aware of the Vindhya mountains? Please raise up your hands. How many are not aware of the Vindhya mountains? Please raise up. Okay, all right. So anything above the state of Madhya Pradesh, northern Maharashtra, is a different territory because there's a huge mountain range in central India. It is called as the Vindhya Mountains. That is where the river Narmada originates. All right, heard of the river Narmada? Yeah. So the Vindhya Mountains. So south of the India Vindhya Mountains, so all the southern states. People who have adopted that culture, they take out maybe every year, maybe once in 5 years, 10 years, but many of them, there'll be a particular month where they'll have this specific practice where their entire body resonates with that energy. It can be the month of Shravan. It can be the month of Margashirsha. What is it called in Telugu? Margai? A month? Sorry? Magha Masam. Magha is different. Is it Margashirsha? Margashira? December. November, December time. Is it called Magha? Magha is generally March, April. They take out that time. What do? Hundreds upon thousands. They form small groups. And they're traveling place from one place to another, like every year. This is other than the fact that most probably in their little village, every Tuesday they come together and sing songs. Some of them may sing, they may sing songs for Lord Balaji. Some of them may sing it for some spiritual guru of that territory. Some of them may sing songs for Ayyappa, some Devata. So every week they'll do that. However, once a year for like 30, 40 days, in the month of Shravan, every day in the morning, walk towards a Shivalinga and offer water. In Uttar Bharat, in northern India, they do that typically in the month of Magh. I said February, March, it's most probably January, February, after Paush. There is Falgun, Magh. Yeah, most probably in the month of Magh. It begins with Paush. Begins with January, after Sankrant. What is that called as? The Magha Mela. People come to the banks, to the island in the river Ganga, Ganga Dweep, and spend 15 days or a month. This is different than the Kumbh Mela. The Kumbh Mela happens every 12 years in Ganga Dweep. This is Magha Mela. It happens every year. Similarly, in coastal Andhra, you have the Pushkar. For so many days, people would come as in groups. So this is Vedic culture. This is typical India, which you only see on social media, where only the event is highlighted. What is the idea behind it? The idea is that your body should resonate with a particular kind of energy, because that is how your mind will find the body to be favorable enough to focus with a similar energy. Otherwise, the body and mind are generally they are contradicting each other. The mind is telling you, you should fast on Ekadashi. The body is telling you, you're hungry. And then you say, no, I follow the spiritual path and I pray to either Ekadashi Devi or to this goddess or to the Lord, and I will do fasting. And the next day, you have acidity. Why is that? Because the body and mind are not in sync. The body is not ready for that. The body does not have each and every molecule of the body, which is simply atoms. Atoms are electrons. Electrons are vibrating. The vibration is not in sync with what your mind is thinking. No wonder most people who fast, typically everyone is like on that day they want to stay away from them except for ISKCON devotees, because on Ekadashi they feast. But those who fast, everyone knows that today just let them be by themselves. Otherwise, there's going to be some form of angry reciprocation. Is it true? If you tell them anything, they're like, don't you know I'm fasting today? Can't you leave me alone for today? Whom am I fasting for? It's for all of you. Okay, stay away. However, when you are on this tour, let's say Magh Mela, let's say your Margashir month, Shravan month, people may fast, but there is not much anger expressed by them. The reason is you're not alone. So the body and the mind, they kind of align individually. Same thing happens during Kirtan. The same thing happens during a big festival. When we do a big festival in ISKCON, 300, 400 devotees, 1,000 devotees, 2,000 devotees, 5,000 devotees, you're like, such a wonderful experience. So we are getting some experience of what it is when our field of activity and we as the node of the field of activity are aligned, in alignment. Hence, one has to be introspective. Otherwise, there are so many people, there are so many gatherings that happen. In today's society, we may find that the similar times of the year or similar festivals can be celebrated in various different ways. On Mahashivratri, you could have a rock band, with heavy metal music singing out Om Namo Shivaya, bang. Even that can take place. It can happen. And one may find oneself swaying to that also, because sound affects water element, it affects the fire element. It's not that it's wrong music. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is there are other ways also this can be expressed. What is the easiest? Is it always possible to have heavy metal being played? Because you need a lot of arrangement for that. What is easiest? Clapping hands and singing. Like the simple people from the villages, they come out, barefoot, they're walking from one place to another, and they're simply clapping their hands and they're singing. You don't need a lot of paraphernalia for it. So with less efforts, you get similar benefits. Such activities are called as activities in the mode of goodness. Sattvic. And where you have to spend a lot of effort to get result. For example, somebody is very lazy and that person has to eat. That person has to really spend a lot of energy to push oneself to even cook. And even if that person gets cooked food, it takes that person a lot of energy to feed oneself. It's like, can you feed me, please? So where you have to spend a lot of energy and the result is minimum, that is the mode of ignorance. Many a times we may have heard mode of ignorance is bad. It is where you are completely in ignorance. Many times we don't even realize that we are using the same word in different forms, phrases. Where you are dull. It's very simple. Where we need to survive. So which is the best way to survive with the least efforts put in? Goodness. All right. So we have to be very, very perceptive. We hear, we read, we see, we take all of this and apply it to our existence and see which is most helpful for me, not just today. Maybe for a day it works. Can this process work, keep me peaceful for a week? Can this process now keep me peaceful for 10 days? Can it keep me peaceful for 15 days? Can it keep me peaceful for 6 months? Can it keep me peaceful for a year? Can it keep me peaceful for an entire lifetime? It's like any other activity. You start off with 1 rupee, then you try to see if you can save. You start off with $1, then you see if you can save 50 cents from it. Then with that 50 cents, now you have $1.5 to work on. And you see if you can save 60 cents after that. And ultimately, you're hoping that you should have sufficient where the savings itself is sufficient. That's the idea. However, if we have spent, let's say, an entire lifetime, or we have spent 10 years, or we have spent 5 years, or we have spent 1 year, where it is only going to be from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock every afternoon on a Tuesday. Where is the benefit? In fact, after some time, we kind of become very used to that activity. We are like, on every Tuesday, like some people, especially in India, they're like, Tuesday, Saturday, we don't eat anything that is not prescribed. Pakka. Tuesday and Saturday. But this similar attitude could be that morning 4:30 to 6:30, I do my chanting. Pakka. After that, I'm done, finished. It's done with. It's like the same, it's the same approach that a person who says on Tuesdays and Saturdays, I don't eat anything that is not prescribed. Other days, I can, but Tuesday. I'm a pakka devotee of such and such. So it's good, it's helpful. At least Tuesdays and Saturdays, there is some living entities that are happy. Similarly, at least for 2 hours a day, we have made our life a little peaceful. The last 22 hours, somehow or the other, we can sustain with whatever little energy we've had. 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, an entire lifetime, there has to be a plan. Isn't it? Where do we see? Many times in the corporate world, where do you see after 3 years? They ask. Maybe we should also ask that in spiritual circles, in spiritual gatherings. Where do you see after three years? Initiated twice. Where do you see after 3 years? Maybe, I'm doing the morning program in my house. And after that, then, I don't know, that is all that is needed, right? What is beyond that? What more? Isn't that sufficient? Isn't that we've heard that simply by doing that, we are going back home, back to Godhead road? A saint knows what is the best use of even a soiled rug. Whereas an ordinary person thinks a soiled rug is the worst offering that can be given to any person who's come to beg. See the difference in perspectives? Therefore, life has to be lived making good choices, always. Then you're alive. And one can only do that if one is very perceptive. Is it possible for everyone? Maybe not. But at least we can give it a try and see whether we can do it or not. Isn't it? We have intelligence. The Supreme Lord has given us intelligence. We use it. Now let's suppose we are convinced now, okay, no, being speakers, when we speak, that is what we are. Sometimes people mistake us to be sadhus, but we are just speakers, at least myself. Hopefully one day, with the vibration of the audience, one day this will also vibrate in the mode of a sadhu. But the seeker, that is what I think I'd see myself as a seeker. I want to seek, understand, be corrected, refine my understanding. Because life only gives you opportunity once. The next moment, it's a different opportunity. The third moment, it's a different opportunity. The fourth moment, it's definitely another opportunity. Let me give you an example about this. Trains in India, sorry, the children that grew up here, I'm very sorry. But many of the examples are, because here, it's a very sanitized way of, or very, sanitized is a good word? It's like a very packaged way of life. It's like everyone is on that factory belt and everything is customized. So growing up here, especially in America, especially if you're a little affluent, I mean, the rural parts, maybe it's a little different, but if you're a little affluent, if you grow up in an affluent society, affluent family, little bit. Basically, it means that your annual salary could be anywhere between 50K to, no, yeah, 50K to 100K. Is that good enough? Before COVID. So that kind of affluent family, I'm saying. It's a very structured kind of, already customized kind of outlook of life. But India, it's not like that. Slowly, we are trying to catch up to this customized way of living. In India, you get to see all. Here, if you enter a train, people will be in their own spaces. It's very customized. You know what you have to do. In India, even if you have your own berth, you're still not sure what you have to do. If you have a reservation, you're not sure. In fact, even on planes, that can happen. You have your reserved seat and you go there and you see already occupied by a person who has 5, 6 other people. Can you go to our seat, sir? Sir, there. And then you say, no, that's right next to the washroom, Sir, only 2 hours journey. Or sir, only 1 day journey. Thank you. Before you have even accepted, they have already said thank you. Yes. So it's always full of surprises. And when it's full of surprises, you have to keep your wits active. You have to be very witty. You have to okay, now what do I do? Can I do this? Apply the same trick with someone else? So typically what happens is when such a person is in this situation, that person sits on the seat in the next. And when another person, it's not their seat. So they come here, they say, sir, this was my seat. They told me to sit here. Now you go and sit there. So anyone who's the last gets the left out seat. Anyways, so on a train in India, there are, various classes, right? So there is the first class. Nowadays we don't have the first class, but third AC, first AC, then second tier, and then the unreserved class. So many a times, this is what I personally have experienced in the, let's say, late 90s, early 2000s. If somehow or the other I have an AC class ticket, everyone is giving me stares. And this Akashwani voice in the sky is going on their head. What is a sadhu doing in a luxury cabin? Because the idea is sadhu should be sitting on a box of nails. Because for them that is tapasya and they do not feel the nails. It is actually luxury for them, sitting on a box of nails. But now with social media becoming so widespread, they have more understanding of certain let us say prescribed activities. They have more understanding of that. However, so one sadhu was sitting in a first AC cabin. So first AC, this is a cabin with berths in it. So sitting there, so there's a lower berth and an upper berth. So the sadhu puts his luggage on the upper berth. There's another seat, it's a cabin, right? So there's at least 3 other passengers that would be coming in. Because 4 berths, right? So another person, a nice, healthy looking gentleman, AC, that is why they only have 4 berths, because people generally are very healthy. Well-to-do people, they can spend money. So they come in, wife, and a little child. First, the child is like, ah! It's like, Mommy, are we safe? Because who's a strange? I mean, yes, in a temple, the person doesn't look strange, but in a first AC cabin, who's a strange person? Sadhu is simply peaceful. So he's talking to his wife. Just see modern times, Kali Yuga. Now even sadhus travel in first AC. Did Kali Yuga give the non-sadhu people birthright? Travel in first AC or what? How does that make sense? We have to ask Kali. Sir, did you give special rights to people who are not sadhus? At least not in their dressing sense. But it's like, sadhus, what are you doing in first AC? Sir, you should be in the Himalayas, somewhere in the cave with snakes. Snakes should be your disciples. That is bona fide sadhu. I went to meet a sadhu. There was a snake over his head. Nice sadhu. Anyways, so he takes his luggage and he kind of puts some under the berth, and then he has more. So he's like, whose luggage is this? And the sadhu says, it's mine. Wow, today sadhu have luggage too. Because sadhu simply should have a kamandalu, right? It is like their, wizards, whatever, from that the sadhu can pull out things always. What do you need? Lollipop? Here, out of my kamandalu. What do you need? You need 1 lakh rupees here from my kamandalu, from my water pot. You have luggage too? Sadhu says, yeah, that's my luggage. They kind of make faces. So, how sometimes people in India talk. If they have an opinion, they speak into thin air. Their idea is that everyone who has ears will hear, especially the person whom they are directing their message to. So the message was directed towards the sadhu, but it was spoken into thin air. What? Nowadays sadhu have luggage. Nowadays sadhu is traveling first AC. They are also wanting to be very comfortable. What is the difference between them and us? There's no difference. Today you cannot trust sadhus anymore. Talking into thin air. So the sadhu is very peaceful. And after that, he looked towards the sadhu that, did you get my message or should I repeat it? They expect a response. Sadhu says, sir, you have enlightened me today. He says, I know. That is what we are here for, to enlighten sadhus. If you would not have informed me, I would have lived with this misidentity, misunderstanding. It's okay. No problem. There's always, see, the Supreme Lord is very merciful, says this gentleman. We always have a chance to transform in life. So all transformation should happen in the lives of sadhus. Everyone else is exempt from that. Definitely there's no difference between you. Now I realize it. So the train comes, pulls up to the next station. He says, sir, you have given me such knowledge. Please let us go down and, just I would like to, let's take a stroll. He says, all right, let's do that. So they take a stroll. The man is constantly looking back to see where his coach is. The sadhu is kind of taking a stroll, taking him towards the other end of the train, away from his coach. The engine sounds. The train is about to pull off out of the station. He says, we have to go back. The engines whistle. The train started moving. The sadhu says, no, don't worry. Let's take a stroll. He says, but my family is there. My luggage is there. The sadhu said, my luggage is also there. Let's take a stroll. My clothes are there. The sadhu said, my clothes are also there. Don't worry. I can share. I have this dhoti. I'll tear it in half. You wear half. I'll wear half. No. That is not possible. But you only told me, there's no difference between sadhu and you. Said, sir. Now I understand. There is a difference. So he asked, what is the difference? He says the difference is that if there is a need, then we accept it. If there is no need, then there is no problem in giving up. We don't feel anxiety in giving up. This is a difference of perspective. Otherwise, a sadhu also has luggage. A sadhu also travels in the first AC train coach. It is not that the sadhu would get off at any station. The sadhu would most probably go to the destination that is there on the ticket, pick up his luggage or pick up her luggage and move out of the train. That is most in the normal circumstances that could have been done. However, and this is not an emergency where they say that the plane, if it lands in water, then just get off the seat, jump out. Don't carry any of your personal items. It's not an emergency landing situation too. However, if the sadhu feels that, hey, this luggage can be useful for someone else, the sadhu just walks through. Why? Because the sadhu's perspective is what is needed for the moment. If it is needed, we'll work for it, we'll get it. If it is not needed, even if though we have worked for it, we have earned it, we'll give it up. And if one does not have that perspective, then one will be attached. Why? Because one has this identity crisis. The identity crisis that Arjuna was having. And Krishna asks him, Kutastva kashmalamidam. Where has this anxiety come from? You're on the battlefield. Everything has been thought out prior to being here. All the options are considered. You're in the war room. This is not where you should be struck by anxiety. This is where you have to take decisions. You cannot have a person, untrained person in the war room. Can you have an untrained person there? You cannot. Only those who are very well trained are invited into the war room. War room, that is what it is called. Isn't it? The corporate culture, that is what it is called. What is the synonym for it? Another name for it. Command center. So you have to be trained prior to that. That is when you have you are there to manage the crisis. So life, especially human form of life, Krishna is telling Arjuna, why is that? He says, anare. It is not, this is not what is expected from a person who's in whom so much of training has been put. Dronacharya, the elders, Bhishmacharya, they put so much effort into training all these children up as adults. They proved that they were well trained. And none of the others are having that kind of anxiety Arjuna is having. At least we don't know of. It seems as if everyone has things sorted out. Anarya, Jushtam, Aswargyam, Akirti Karmarjuna. Krishna is like, this is a time of deployment, and you're wondering whether your code is, is it okay or not? Akirti, Aswargyam. Company will fail. The stock market will crash. You're going to lose your job, and hundreds of other people who are dependent they're on the various rungs of the ladder. They are all going to lose their job because if this deployment doesn't take place, it is going to have wide ramifications. Krishna is like the CEO. Still, Arjuna does not understand, because the nature of anxiety is it renders you helpless. It's not that people who are very focused in life, they do not have moments of weakness. They do have. However, those moments of weakness do not render them helpless. The training is such, it's like the commandos, the black cats. Do you think it would work for any one of us if the black cats have moments of weakness? That is how a sadhu is also trained. Self-training. And there may be moments of weakness, however, you do not get distracted by it. You immediately know which button to hit to seek help, to seek some assistance. However, anxiety is a state, it is a condition where you are rendered helpless. All your motor system, the system that makes you interact with the external world, it collapses. Krishna is saying, Aswargam. Aswargam means there's no success guaranteed here. Sure shot failure. Stop lamenting, Arjun. Stop lamenting for that which is not worth lamenting. All right. Let me tell you another story. There are two ladies, early morning, in a very remote place. They were kind of quarreling with each other, and a sadhu comes along. The ladies were out filling water. They had their vessels and they had to fill up water and bring it back to their homes. So one lady was really very, very agitated because the other lady had spent quite some time trying to fill up her vessel. She's like, what is it? How big is your vessel? You've been here for quite some time. Come on, move. I need to fill up my vessel too. She's like, no, my vessel is not filled up as yet. So I need the water too. So the sadhu comes along. He says, what's the matter? So the other lady says, look at her. She's been here for quite some time and her vessel is not filled up as yet. So the sadhu says, all right, let me see what is the issue. So he has a torch. It's early morning, and so it's like the dark hours of the morning, no electricity on those times. So you do things by feel. He turns on his torch. Now sadhu have torches. The ladies may not have. Or let us say the sadhu kind of mystical power with his hands. And suddenly there was light. So in that illumination, the sadhu sees and the other lady see that the vessel was, it was a pot. And the pot was placed upside down. So all the water was falling onto the outer or the bottom of the pot and splashing away, and just getting drained away. Because the mouth of the pot was upside down. So most of us, we come with our pots to practice spiritual life. How many of us are chanting, that's some kind of chanting, maybe not the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, maybe something else, 5 minutes, because a typical Hindu thinks 5 minutes is more than enough. God doesn't need more than that. You do 5 minutes with proper attention. That is all that is needed. Hare Baba, after doing an entire lifetime, then you get to doing 5 minutes with proper attention. Yeah? Chanting. Every day we come with our pots. Pot of sadhana. And then we fill up a sadhana card, or we try to kind of look back on how did it go? What would be the number of times where a pot was upside down? Why is that? Darkness. We have understood the task, we are performing the task, however, we are not being very self-aware. Hence, mistakes happen. And when mistakes happen, the water is flowing, the pot is also there, time is also being engaged. The results are not what we expect. Isn't it? What is it that we are trying to do? What is it that quote unquote sadhus have achieved? In the Gita, Krishna explains it succinctly. He says, Brahmanya adhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti lipyate nachapapena padmpatram ivamas. The sadhus are becoming a lotus. Whatever environment a lotus is in, it is unaffected. Sometimes a lotus can be in a very pristine reservoir of water. Sometimes a lotus can be in a very, very muddy place. Sometimes a lotus can be in a vase. The lotus always retains its quality of being unaffected. How is that? The lotus never allows moisture in the form of water to affect it. The lotus leaf. Padma Patram. So whatever situation we may be in life, if we can be a Padma Patram, a lotus leaf, or a lotus petal, then life would be very interesting. This existence that we call the body would vibrate with an energy where the mind would not have to fight much with it. There will be good alignment. The intelligence, understanding the need of the hour, the soul needs to be peaceful, happy, we gives reduction to the mind, and the mind perfectly sees that the horses of the senses are in alignment. That is Krishna consciousness. Chanting the holy names of the Lord, there is the possibility that we achieve this state of consciousness. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we'll stop here. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Clarifications? Doubts? When we say self-awareness, what does it mean? Very succinctly, self-awareness means that we are aware of the opportunity that every moment brings to us, as long as this body is alive. Is that all right? That is our opportunity. It is just for us. What do I do with that? Yesterday I was reading an article. Ants, they practically never sleep. They take a lot of power naps through the day. Their entire life they never sleep. I'm like, wow, I would never want to be an ant. There's some study on ants. Did you know that? They never sleep. They constantly work. It seems that they have got two stomachs. One for their own nourishment and other to nourish others. That's amazing. There's so much study on them. Every existence is so unique. So for the ants, every moment is like work. No wonder they can lift, what is it, 60 times or 6,000 times their own weight or something like that. Their muscles must be like really well developed. They work so much. How aware they must be of the opportunity. I mean, they're not aware. Obviously, we know that they do not see things with the same perspective as we see. This self-awareness. Yeah? Did you all know? Anyone knew that about ants? Please do search. Some of that article came up. I think there must be counter articles to it also. However, I get to choose what I like. And that's what readership is about. You choose your authors and you choose the articles that you like. Yeah. All right. Anything else? Okay. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. So I think there is Kirtan now, right? Or there is Prashad. Prashad? Prashad? No, is that Prashad or Prashad, right? Oh. I'm done. I'm done. I was trying to see if I can extend the program till 11 o'clock. I fail miserably. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.